The United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world. We are addicted to locking people up. Despite having only 5% of the world's population, the U.S. has 25% of the world's prisoners. The land of the free, it seems, is anything but. While we have been building a national consciousness around the causes of mass incarceration, little attention has been paid to one of the system's most powerful actors, prosecutors. A prosecutor, also known as a district attorney, represents the government in criminal proceedings against any person accused of a crime. They are actually referred to as the people because they are supposed to represent the interests of the community. Their job is to seek justice, not convictions. And prosecutors have more power than most of us realize. Prosecutors alone decide whether or not to charge a crime. They get to decide who is prosecuted and who gets a pass. They also decide what crimes to charge you with. This is important because the more serious the charge, the greater the risk a person faces by taking their case to trial. This increased risk puts pressure on a person to give up their rights and take a deal, even if they are innocent. And despite their legal duty to turn over evidence that could prove you are innocent, prosecutors themselves, all in secret, decide when to apply that rule. Given all their discretionary power, prosecutors ultimately determine how the system treats the most vulnerable people in our communities. But the problem is not just the unfair amount of power prosecutors have. The problem is the abuse of that power, which is unfortunately all around us. Investigative reporter Radley Balco explains that one of the most powerful positions in public service, a position that carries with it the authority not only to ruin lives, but in many cases, the power to end them, is one of the positions most shielded from liability and accountability. And he's right. Over 40 years ago, the Supreme Court gave prosecutors absolute immunity, a powerful legal protection that is even greater than the protection the law gives to police officers. Absolute immunity is a big deal, a really big deal. And it means that in our current legal system, who we elect to represent the people becomes even more critical. Here's what you can do. Find out who the elected district attorney is in your jurisdiction. Get to know where they stand on the issues you care about most. Make sure you know what policies and practices are implemented in your name every day. Hold prosecutors accountable with the power of your vote. It's time to ask whether your district attorney is standing up for the needs and values of the communities they serve. So, do prosecutors exercise significant power? Absolutely. But they can only exercise the power that you give them. And that starts with winning an election, which means the most powerful player in our system is really the voter. That's you.
Hey, John Legend here. Lately, I've joined the fight to end mass incarceration, and I've been meeting with many important figures involved with the criminal justice system across the country. But there is one group I want to talk about today: district attorneys. Within a single role, they have the power to decide who gets criminal charges filed against them, the severity of those charges, or if charges get filed at all. And this covers everything from theft, drug crime, environmental crime, violent crimes, and more severe cases such as rape or murder. These are the responsibilities of your district attorney. Your initial reaction might be that justice is being fairly served. But understand that despite state and federal laws, the influential power they carry allows them to prioritize or deprioritize how those laws are enforced and who they are enforced against. They literally have the power to send people to prison for life and send people to death row. Armed burglary by a teen is a crime, but the DA decides whether that young person is thrown away or treated through rehabilitation. In a single decision, free from accountability, DAs can funnel people into the prison system, trapping them in the revolving door of mass incarceration. Equally so, they can give them a second chance. These DAs represent our voice, but most of our DAs' actions don't represent what we believe. Let's take a look at Proposition 47, which reduced the penalties for certain nonviolent offenses. In California, the majority voted to pass the proposition, but only 2 of the 58 district attorneys at the time agreed. With all the power the DA holds, they can operate in a bubble, and if not aligned with the people, can undermine the winning proposition. When no one is watching, there is no accountability. The district attorney is an elected position which represents your interests in the criminal justice system. It's up to you to hold them accountable, which starts by getting to know them. The power you have starts with just saying, hey.
It is a battle that we have been fighting, it seems like forever.
Honestly, we see Black people go to prison for crimes that white people don't go to prison for.
Both Monica and Tracy were out protesting in front of the Yolo County courthouse.
We see injustices in what's supposed to be the justice system. We see violence in the name of the law. We see mass incarceration in the name of public safety.
And those aren't problems, just generally.
Those examples were Yolo County examples.
Both say they see all manner of abuses.
When we have discussions with them about what the police reports say versus what our clients tell us actually happened, we see firsthand and we hear firsthand what the differences are.
I have clients that will tell me, I had $12,000 on me. The report says I only had $2,000 on me. So where's that other $10,000? Oh, I had 5 grams of methamphetamine on me. Now they're saying I only had 2. It's not just abuse that leads to death. It's abuse that leads to pain and suffering.
The numbers don't add up. 7% of California's population is Black, but they make up 28% of prison populations statewide. In Yolo County, the disparity is even greater, with Black people comprising only 3% of the population, but a full quarter of those incarcerated.
We have actually over an 800% overrepresentation of Black men and women in our local jail. So it is a local problem.
Both Monica and Tracy say the best result that could come out of their protesting is for jurors to wake up.
I think jurors are now starting to understand that when police officers say X happened, and that may not always be what happened.
Many times, a lot of citizens, a lot of jurors come in saying, well, because he's an officer, or because she's an officer, I tend to believe them. And that should not be the case.
About 2 weeks ago, ABC 10 interviewed 2 Yolo County public defenders who said there are racial disparities in the justice system.
Honestly, we see Black people go to prison for crimes that white people don't go to prison for.
The Yolo County District Attorney reached out to us after that story aired, saying their claims are not true.
I have never experienced a judge sentence a Black person or any person of color in a disparate way, in a way that I believe was racist.
Yolo County Public Defender Tracy Olson says she stands by her every word. She says there was an 800% overrepresentation of Black men and women in the local jail on April 20th and showed us a log for that day. However, that log shows minimal information: their name, race, age, and sex. The district attorney said after looking into that day, it's being taken out of context and inaccurate.
I was just amazed and flabbergasted at her use of the statistic suggesting that Yolo County's incarceration rate for Black people was so excessive.
I also requested cases that shows the racial disparities the public defender has witnessed, and I sent them over to the district attorney during our interview.
Here's what I find so interesting. I'm hearing about this for the first time from you right now. Again, I've been the DA for 14 years. Her allegations, I should say. She's been the public defender for about 10. She has never called me and said, Jeff, we have a problem with racial disparity in the sentences, and here they are.
As he stated over and over again, he says the county doesn't have an issue that he's aware of. He even emailed me stats to prove otherwise, even though one of them is from 4 years ago. Olson was unavailable for another interview with us. However, a county spokesperson emailed us on her behalf. Olson says they are not looking to divide people, and she says the issue is much bigger than these cases. She wants to show things need to change and discussions need to happen.